Now, one of the strongest commonalities that I find between individuals, people that have conquered their sexual impulse, reflex, the compulsiveness of this, I find that such people are more open to, we could say, what's transcendental. They perceive that there's something at play here that is much deeper, much more profound than, we could say, ordinary everyday life. And at the same time, God is always with us, Emmanuel, even throughout everyday life. So just this simple awareness that actually I can connect to whatever through surrender of a personal will, which when you conquer this animal instinct, this will becomes very powerful, and it can be very easy to identify with things and get attached to that identity. For instance, Alex being identified with celibacy, but we don't want to get hung up on this because it's simply, we could say, a stepping stone. It's not an end-all be-all. So what is the intention? What is the point of doing this spiritual practice? What is this trying to accomplish? This is the thought process. Where are we going with this? What are we becoming with this? Of course, you may have had profound spiritual experience where you realize you're pure beingness. But what do we do with that supreme being in this world, in this created, manifested reality? We are very clear on our fundamental supreme identity. However, how do we bring that to life in the manifest world that we perceive with our five senses to share with others? If that's the intention, then just know that whatever is meant to come through you, whatever you're meant to do, will be a natural process. At first, there may be a feeling of doing this. I gotta go get this. I gotta go pursue this. It's, again, talking about sex. That's just an example. Or whatever it is. Whatever the desire is. Remember, desire is simply energy. It's an emotion. An emotion is energy in motion. So we want to give this energy a clear direction, and a powerful practice to do this is semen retention, because this will allow us to, as men, conquer the compulsiveness of sexuality and realize, actually, we don't need it for survival. And actually, we can be very happy without it. And at the same time, something that Alex has been more open to recently is perhaps not forever being engaged in celibacy. And look, there's a cat over here that I want to share. Not to be distracted and lose my thought process, but I love cats. Squirrel running up the tree. It's funny, I keep a couple of cans of tuna fish in my car. I don't eat tuna fish. I don't eat meat. But there's a can opener too, and sometimes I'm driving on the road, see a cat on the side, and just pop open a can of tuna fish and give it to the cat. But that one ran away on me. But to go back to the previous point, Alex doesn't have to perpetually engage in celibacy. Of course, if he wants to, if he chooses to, he can. But we don't want to be limited to that option, to that identity, if you will. He doesn't have to identify with celibacy, because it's not, although it's become a well-established element of my personality, I'm also at the same time willing to expand and explore different options. And I realize that any activity is the energy of that activity results from one's level of consciousness and awareness. And thus, if with sexuality there's no compulsiveness, then it can be a high energy activity. It doesn't have to be what a lot of people have programmed, and I'm guilty of this too. I've been programmed with many different ideas about what's right and wrong, and the tree of good and evil, Adam and Eve falling in the garden, the knowledge of good and evil, which really essentially refers to duality, sense of separation. This is my body, that's your body. A feeling that I'm not connected to everything around me. A feeling of isolation and separation. And this is what we describe as duality. And so, actually, sexuality doesn't have to one can engage in something. What do we mean by yoga? Yoga means union. So it's coming together as one body, one flesh. And so, where am I going with this? There's a spaciousness in consciousness, and I was just telling someone yesterday that oftentimes Alex isn't home. There's no... It's simply a profound emptiness, but at the same time wholeness, if that makes sense. It's a spaciousness, we could say. There's not a lot of thoughts going on. It's a silence and a stillness. And unless Alex intentionally sits down and reads or writes or engages in some mental activity, there's not necessarily a lot of thoughts going on. And so I make this to say, hey, you can be open to exploring new things, because as I was saying, any activity, the energy of that is going to result from where you're at mentally and spiritually, and it doesn't have to feel like duality. Say you simply want to experience and be with another person's energy and appreciate the beauty of that. Not their physicality, not their body, but simply the beauty of their pure, raw life energy. That same energy that animates all of us. You want to share your joy with someone else who has this, where there's wholeness. And you recognize this, and wow, we could combine our energy and put it towards a purpose to manifest something in this wondrous existence that we're all a part of. So it boils down to intention. Very clear on one's direction, let's say with semen retention. But again, it doesn't have to be an end-all be-all. I still firmly believe that the only reason you should ever release your seed is if you're having children. If you intend to bring children into this world to better the next generation, it's a big responsibility. So that child's going to be your highest priority if you ever have them. And so it's something to take very seriously. But like I said, you can still engage intimately with somebody without it being a draining activity. Actually, it can be very profound. And I intend to expand upon what I'm thinking now. Formulate some ways to say what wants to come out today. Because it's something that I've given a lot of thought to. And want to share with you. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure the approach or how I should say it. Today's a free flow video. However, I also know that some people prefer structure and something that perhaps is a little bit less back and forth. Is more A, B, C, D, E, F rather than A, C, M. Oh, I forgot to talk about D and go, you know what I mean? Where am I going now? See, this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes we could say get off on a tangent, but it eventually always comes full circle and makes sense. It's good to be unwavering in one direction, utterly focused in that. And once you take that to its extreme, or what you perceive to be the extreme, then it's time to become grounded again and balanced. Because so long as we have a physical body and interact with physical existence, it's important to be in balance. We could say not to be too much in the light, because then we won't want to come back down. We won't want to be a part of normal everyday reality with humanity. So we gotta embrace and integrate our darkness and that shadow side of us too. So that whatever we do, there's impactfulness of activity. And it's not about results or outcomes. It's simply an expression of your essence, your state and level of consciousness, with no ulterior motives, no expectations. And if there is any expectations, then it's simply a released, surrendered state. Like, Lord, I expect the best. I don't know how. I just know that it's all going to work out. And looping back to the beginning of the video, this is the commonality I see with people who have disciplined their sexuality, is they see something very profound at play here in the universe and are open to higher possibilities as a result of this, because they've overcome the compulsiveness of their animality. But in order to be a balanced, well-functioning, high-functioning, well-being individual, we want to accept our animal and see it for what it is. It doesn't have to be filthy, and it doesn't have to be sacred. We can just see it clearly for what it is, with neutrality, without getting polarized either which way. And this is where we find wholeness, when there's balance. Life is only beautiful when it's in balance. And sharing this wholeness with someone, it's part of this wonderful process of cyclical physical existence. And also realizing at the same time there's something transcendental, which is beyond time. could say a transcendent frequency. So simply this awareness and living for God and always being conscious of this, the Most High. Whatever we do, we put our whole heart into, then we're a success. How we are within ourselves, that is the most important thing. When our intelligence is working properly, we'll be less concerned with how we're perceived in this world and more focused on what we can do to elevate spiritually and live completely consciously, having overcome our compulsivity, conquered it completely, so that now we can choose to engage with that in a state of freedom without being run by it. God bless.